his family home somehow got caught on fire, and it was in the middle of burning down. Ted's brother went up to him and tried to like wake him up and get him out of bed and get him out of the house. Like, hey, the house is on fire. We gotta go, Ted. Come on. Ted instead looked at his brother and was like, nah, I'm good. I need to sleep. I need my rest for work the next day. Ted actually said that. He said, I'm not getting up. I don't give a shit if this house is on fire. I need my sleep. That's dedication.
Dude, that is.
Which he did eventually get out of the house. Of course, he didn't die and all that stuff. So, yeah.
They dragged him out of the house.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about our next Yuba County 5 member, which is 29-year-old Bill Sterling. Now, Bill was very religious and was known to make visits to mental hospitals where he would read the Bible and other religious texts to various people there. He would also spend a lot of his time in the library because he loved to not only read, but also research about mentally handicapped people. Now, something else that is worth mentioning is that Bill and Ted were pretty good friends. I mean, not as good of friends as Ted and Jackie. However, Bill and Ted had known one another for the past 8 years, and like we talked about earlier, Ted would always call Bill and read funny stuff off to him. So yeah, they were pretty good friends.
All right. So Bill had a job working at Sun Sweet Growers, which was a dried fruit company. However, Bill was eventually fired from there because he was unable to learn how to use the new dishwashing equipment. Bill did eventually get a new job washing dishes at an Air Force base until his mother made him quit that job because she found out that the men there at the Air Force base would get Bill drunk and then steal his money.
Damn.
God damn, man. Why they gotta be such dicks? Why couldn't they just got him drunk, you know? Took Bill out on the town, had a good night. But no, got him drunk and steal his money. Damn.
So messed up.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about the next person, which is Bill's best friend. His name was Jack Doc Madruga. So Jack was 30 years old and served in the Army during the Vietnam War in 1968, which he was later discharged from the Army. Now, Jack worked at the same dried fruit company, Sun Sweet Growers, that Bill did also. He was also a dishwasher as well, and he was the one who actually got Bill hired there as a dishwasher. Until he was fired, of course, for not learning how to use the new dishwasher, which some of those things are iffy.
I don't even know how to use mine. I just hand wash everything. I would have been fired.
Yeah, I'd rather you hand wash than use a dishwasher, to be honest.
Yeah. All right. So according to Jack's mother, he was never diagnosed with having a mental disability, but people generally thought of Jack as being, and I quote, slow. Now, even though they thought that of Jack, he was still actually able to manage his own finances perfectly fine. For an example, he managed his finances so his most prized possession, a 1969 Mercury Montego, I don't know. It's a Mercury car, okay? Whichever way you want to pronounce it, all right? And Jack, he loved that damn car, and he was super protective of it. He never allowed anyone to drive it other than himself.
So those four guys, Jackie, Ted, Bill, and Jack, were considered the good guys of the group. But the final person of the Yuba County 5, Gary Mathias, wasn't considered to be a great person. Now, it is said that his bad decisions were all caused from when he was younger. Gary had been involved in an accident where he was riding along in a car, decided to open that car door while it was moving, and fell out of that bitch. Of course, Gary got a super bad head injury. Because of this, it actually made him blind for about 4 days. Now, his vision did return, but not fully. For the rest of his life, Gary had to wear thick Coke bottle glasses. His eyesight was so terrible, and without wearing these glasses, he would see double of everything.
Damn, that sucks.
Yeah, it does.
Now, a quick side note. Even though Gary showed no signs of mental illness when he was younger, it is suspected that after this incident, it could have been a factor in him having a mental illness. Like him falling out of the car, hitting his head, that is what gave him a mental illness. Instead of him becoming like a savant in one area, you know how we talked about previously? How people like hit their heads and all of a sudden they can play the piano like perfectly? His was the opposite way. He hit his head and he just didn't make right decisions after that.
Head injuries, man, they're dangerous. All right, so as we were saying, Gary was a little different from the 4 other guys. He did things differently and got in trouble. For example, in high school, Gary decided to partake in some drugs.
Hell yeah.
So on that day, Gary thought it would be fun to take some hallucinogenic drugs during school hours.
Not hell yeah. You know what? Not cool. You do not take them during school hours at school. That's totally the wrong way to go about it.
Exactly, because, which we can only assume didn't pan out so well for him because he ended up in a psychiatric ward.
So after Gary was released from the psych ward, he finished high school and decided to go straight into the Army. Now, while in the Army, Gary continued to use drugs and was eventually arrested for going AWOL, absent without leave, right? He just said, "I'm out this bitch, peace."
Pretty much.
They ended up catching up with him, boop, boop, and arrested him. And get this, while Gary was in his prison cell, he asked 2 sergeants to come to his cell, which of course they did. Gary then randomly punched one of them in the face. Immediately after that, Gary went to attack the other sergeant. However, he was already in the process of taking Gary down.
Eventually, Gary was subdued by the sergeants, and later on that day, when they finally got to question him on why he decided to do this, he said, and we quote, "I've been in the Army, and I don't like it. And I thought if I hit a cop, maybe they'll let me out." Well, the Army officially diagnosed Gary with paranoid schizophrenia. He was prescribed, I think, 2 to 3 different medicines to treat his schizophrenia. Shortly after that, the Army medically discharged him.
Now, if you thought that Gary would, calm down after getting out of the Army, because he didn't like it anymore, well, I hate to say it, but you're wrong, because he doesn't calm down at all. He ends up going buck wild, okay? So get this. A little while after getting discharged from the Army, Gary ends up going over to his cousin's house, just visiting him, and they decided to sit down and watch some TV. And this was around, nighttime, all right? After watching TV for a little while, Gary then got up and was like, "Yo, cuz, I gotta take a shit." His cousin was like, "Well, go ahead, man, do you. Go take a shit, man, it's fine." So Gary goes into the bathroom. So after being in that bathroom for a long-ass time, Gary's cousin was like, "Damn, Gary, you're taking an awfully long dookie in that bathroom, man." Gary didn't say anything back. So his cousin decided to get up, he walked over to the bathroom door and knock on it to check on him. However, Gary didn't say anything through the door. So his cousin was like, "Damn, I wonder if Gary died from taking a dookie." So he opened up the door.
Now, real quick, guys, we just want to give a warning for this part because it may trigger some listeners. So please proceed with caution.
Yeah, we care about your mental health, all right?
All right. So Gary's cousin opened the bathroom door and saw that no one was in the bathroom. It was empty. He was like, "Where the fuck is Gary?" Gary's cousin began walking through the house looking for him, and that is when his cousin found him in his bedroom, on the bed, straddling his wife. Now, his wife had taken some medicine earlier that night and was in a super deep sleep, so she had no idea what was happening.
So as Gary was straddling over his cousin's wife's body, he decided to start fondling her breasts. And then he decided to try and pull her pants down. Of course, his cousin ran towards him, pulled him off of her, before anything else could have been done. The cops were then called, and Gary was arrested.
Gary ended up serving 9 months in jail. After he got out, he kept having more and more run-ins with the police. For example, he was arrested for being in multiple bar fights, attempted grand theft auto, and disturbing the peace. Now, another thing that he was arrested for is pretty crazy. So get this. One night, Gary decided to break into a random couple's home and started looking around. The police were called, and he was arrested. The police asked why he broke into their home, in which Gary said that he was trying to find a ring that he was supposed to return to Satan.
Wow. Mental illness is no joke, man. No joke.
That took a turn right there.
Yeah. All right. So after all of those arrests, Gary started taking his psychiatric medication consistently, and this made him actually kind of straighten out his life for a little while. He was actually able to hold down a job at his stepfather's gardening business, and he started receiving disability payments from the Army.
Now, during this time, Gary also started going to the Gateway program, where he was being mentored by a man there named Don. So this Don guy felt that it would do Gary some good if he made some friends. That these friends would have maybe Gary picked up a sport to play or something also. And figured Gary played sports in high school, that maybe he could pick it up again.
Don then asked Gary, "Hey man, you like playing basketball?" Gary was like, "A little bit, yeah, I guess so." And then the Don was like, "Well, would you like to play for the Gateway Gators, which is our basketball team?" Gary was like, "Yeah, I mean, I'll try it out. Yeah, cool." So Don was like, "All right, follow me." He walked Gary to the basketball courts, and standing there in the basketball courts were 4 men who were all a part of the Gateway Gators basketball team. These 4 men were Bill, Ted, Jack, and Jackie, and Gary made number 5 on the basketball team. So this ended up being a great thing for Gary, because all of these men seemed to get along very well, and they all ended up becoming great friends. And not only did the men play basketball together, but they also went bowling every Saturday night. So hey, good for Gary, you know, straightening his life out, you know, meeting new friends and the other guys, you know, good for them.
I want to go bowling.
I wish you lived closer so we could go bowling every Saturday night.
Dude, that'd be awesome.
Hey, if anybody lives in the Waco area that's a listener and wants to go bowling every Saturday night, let's start a league. It's a conspiracy and bowling. And I don't drink, but I'll have soda pops. And we can talk conspiracies and bowl. I'll pay the way. I need friends. I don't have any friends.
Now I gotta move to Waco so I can be part of this league.
Go ahead, move on in.
Now, just a side note here. Aaron, do you know what the Gateway program is?
You know, I saw that, and I've seen it on conspiracy forums before, but I don't think it's the Gateway program that you're talking about.
No.
The Gateway program that I've seen on conspiracy forums is apparently there was a program in the early 90s that would go around to elementary schools and pull certain kids into a private room and ask them certain questions. They would hold up these cards and say, "Hey, what do you see?" And then they would put these devices on their ears and say, "Hey, what do you hear?" And there was a rumor that this program was actually being used by the United States military or government to try to identify highly intelligent or special kids that they could eventually recruit later on in life. But that's the Gateway program that I thought of immediately, which, by the way, you may not believe this, and listeners might not believe this, but I was pulled into one of those rooms on regular occasion in the 3rd and 4th grade and had to listen to those freaking sounds, and they were showing me flashcards, and that occurred for a few weeks, and then after that I never saw the person ever again.
Dude, I had that happen.
Really?
Like, when you started saying that, I was just like, I remember looking at flashcards in elementary school. Them asking me, like, what's this look like? It was like those ones that you see like in mental hospitals and stuff.
Yep, exactly. And they put me in like a small room, and it was just me and that one person. It was extremely small. It could have been a closet for all I know, because it had no windows, and I know it had one desk in it, and the person sat to the right of me, and there was a wall right in front of the desk, and the door was to my right. And I remember the person there was a woman holding up certain cards. It's extremely odd.
Did they tell you that it was like for some advanced placement?
Yep.
Yeah.
Damn, I didn't know that. Hey, if anybody else has been a part of that program or have been tested like that, comment on the Patreon post and let us know. We may do an episode over that one day, do some digging if we find anything, you know?
Yeah, and obviously I didn't make it, so I'm not highly intelligent. But no, that is not the Gateway program I was reading up on. But that one's crazy.
Which one were you reading up on?
So, it's either called Gateway Program or Gateway Project, which their mission was to help the mentally handicapped or emotionally troubled to find like work and connect with their community. And they also helped numerous other ones like find jobs that suited their needs and whatnot. So pretty much they helped them fit into the community better. So it was kind of nice though.
Okay, yeah, that does seem like it did some good.
Yeah, and like Don was a actual recovering drug addict. He was 8 years clean, and he took, you know, Gary under his wing, and he was working there. So yeah, they're doing good. They were supposed to be doing good.
Yeah. All right. So let's continue on with this story.
So like we mentioned earlier, the families of these 5 men called them the boys. So since the boys were playing basketball all the time, scoring threes, doing 360 dunks, just a straight balling it up, crossing people up, breaking ankles. They all decided that they would take it to the next level